Hi, it's Joe from Joe's Country Junction, and I'm here in my sewing room today to spend a little time with you and work on my Freeform ABC letters. I have been absent for a little while. We've got family drama as always. My daughter Qulitng's been sick with this freakish thing that started out with as an ear infection, but is turning out into being something more. But you'll have to read about that on the blog if you want to know more about that. Hopefully we're getting closer to the end, but I really don't think so. So she's got to go in every day and get her ear cleaned out. And then she'll go through some CT scans after that and see what happens. But possible surgery looks like that could happen. So we'll just see what happens. Fingers crossed for the best, whatever that is. We don't know what that is, but that's where we're at right now. And I haven't been able to get to a sewing machine to continue on with my progression down the alphabet with you because it's just been crazy. Today is the 2nd of November as I'm filming this, and Halloween has happened. I hope you had a nice time. And now we're just back to my sewing room and back to our alphabet letters. We've been chugging down the alphabet. We've done a few videos. We had A through D, and then we had a section of E through I. Then we had the section of M and on, and then we went from N and on, and then now we're to the letter S, and I have the letter S here ready to go. But before I jump into that, I want to thank a kind blog reader. I had told you earlier that I was at the blog, or I was at the sewing machine here, which I don't have my light turned on yet. And I was just using this cheap, crappy pair of scissors that was sitting here. And so my scissors is here, and I was having a little bit of trouble with my scissors. And I said something about that on the video. And a few days later, this awesome pair of Karen K. Buckley scissors came. You can see them here. Nice, pretty pink handle. And this is I think they're called the 7.5-inch scissors. And I got them, a blog reader just sent them to me. She was watching the video and thought that I deserved a scissor upgrade, or she wanted to treat me with a scissor upgrade. And that was so very sweet of her. And that was Terry Black that did that. And I very much appreciate that, Terry. I will be cutting much more precisely and much more happily now that I have that great pair of scissors. I've been using them already. I've been using them downstairs, and I've been thinking to myself that I just might need to order another pair for myself for downstairs, because I do a lot of things downstairs and I do a lot of things upstairs here in the sewing room. I also want to thank my blog reader, Isla. She said that these pins are the bomb. They are Bowen pins, and they have a glass top, and she said they're super sharp, and she said I can even iron over the pin head because it's a glass top. That's pretty cool. So I haven't gotten a chance to try these yet because I don't pin a ton, and the whole family drama, I haven't even been in the sewing room. So I'm excited to try those out, and I thank Isla very much for sending those to me. After I was done sewing with you the other day, after we got to, how did we get? The letter R was the last one we did. Then I had a little bit more time, so I sat up here at the sewing machine and I made a few little pieces of flying geese that these will go in my quilt later. And after we finish the alphabet, I'll do a couple videos to show you how to do a few more of the inner pieces of the quilt. And I thought I needed to get some test blocks done, so I made a turn dash block, because it's nice for me to have a sample to show you like this. It's nice for me to be able to point it out to you in the quilt like this. And it's nice for me to be able to sew one directly on the machine with you. So I'm just doing a little prep work, working ahead. Not a lot though. I wish I had a lot more done because, oh my goodness, my grandson is 5 weeks old, and I don't have his quilt done yet. So this grandma needs to get chugging along, but first the family drama needs to calm down and everybody needs to be medically feeling well. So here I have my S, and we're going to have to round some of these corners in here. This is a more complicated letter, and I have to warn you, make sure you look at your S to make sure it's going in the right direction, because I had laid an S out And I came back after I did my last video, I laid the S out, and I came back and looked at it and I thought, something looks weird. I mean, what looks wrong with this S? And then after looking at it, I realized that I had made the S backwards. It's very, very easy to do. I've done it before. So if it happens to you, don't be freaked out. Just start again. And with this letter, like all of the other ones, we're going to be working from the inside and then working out. So I'm going to start by taking this top piece right here, and I'm going to round these two corners. The dogs are extra frisky today. Normally I film my videos in the afternoon, but I've got other stuff going on this afternoon, and I have things going on later in the morning, and so I just am filming this right away with hopes that I'll actually get it done, because there have been several other days this week that I've thought that I was going to get it done. Oh my, this scissor's awesome. And it hasn't happened. And so the dogs are usually a little bit more active and frisky earlier in the morning. So we'll see if they can handle themselves and not start wrestling loudly or something. So, okay, this is how I have this piece. And I rounded the corners just like I round the other ones. And I'm going to tell you again, if this is the first time you're tuning into one of my Freeform alphabet videos, please go back to the first video for A through D, and you'll have a better idea of what we're doing here. And so you can see I rounded those corners. And so then I'm going to attach this piece to that next. So these two pieces here are going to be attached together. As always, I'm sewing on my vintage Singer 1591. It's my favorite machine for doing this odd piecing and whatever else is messy that I'm sewing on. So I have this piece right here together. And now I got to decide what to add next. And so I think I am going to put another corner on here. I didn't do that earlier, and I think I should have. So we're going to add one more corner here, and then we'll add that piece onto there. This is definitely sew some things together and then check it, because like I said in earlier videos, the S is really one of the harder letters that we're going to be tackling. Because we want to get that all so the curves nicely. Because when the letters are boxy, they don't look like they're going to turn out. So here, we're getting a little closer. This is what the piece looks like now. Now we'll put that on there. I'm really excited to be back to the sewing machine. It's been a crazy couple weeks around here. So now this is how far we got. You can see that we're working on the S. And now over on this side, we need to attach these two pieces together because they will be attached to that. So if you ever have any doubt as you're working on these letters, just always remember to work from inside to out. Okay, now this piece is too long. We're working on the top of the S, and that's totally okay if you make things too big. I've said it before, and I truly mean it. It's better to have things be too big than too small. So we're going to add this to the side here. And you're going to see that our S is coming together quite nicely. We'll just keep trimming and sewing, and eventually we'll get where we need to be. Okay, so this is starting to look pretty good. The only thing now is we need to put a corner on each of these so the S looks more smooth and more shapely. So I'm going to do that right now while I still have the piece in my hand. I'm using that method I did before where I'm just lifting up the needle and turning and then adding another corner on. I've had a great response from people from my videos, and that makes me really happy because it does take a little bit of extra work to do these videos and to slow things down so that I can talk to you as we do them. Okay, so we have these two sides, and I gotta decide what we're doing next. I think what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go down and we're going to work on this section down here. You can see this is really looking more like an S already, so we'll keep working on that, and we'll go down here. This piece is gonna need the corners rounded. You can see that right here. So we'll do that first. Again, we'll do that pivot kind of method I did before, that you run the corner on, we're going to turn, we're going to put the other corner on. I've been trying to think about how many letters we might do in this video because we're getting to kind of have a awkward number of letters left to do. So we're doing the S now. Maybe we'll try to get TUV done and just do 3 letters today. I'll see how it goes. We'll check time, and I'm supposed to walk today after I'm done filming the video. My friend Carla, some of you might know her as Carla from Long Arm Quilting Inspirations. She is going to come by and we are going to walk the dogs. She has a just a beautiful Australian Shepherd. And so this one is the one that we just added the pieces onto. So I'm gonna sew that one to this bottom one, and we'll see how we're doing. Her dog is a rescue dog as well, and they got theirs through a Aussie breeder and got theirs when their dog was 9 months old. She's just a beautiful dog, and her name is Luna. And so here's where we are. We have this much done. I think we're going to put this piece onto here and see how we're doing after that. This is kind of a tough letter, so I'm just kind of doing one thing and then trying to think the next thing through as we go. That's a little tall. I hope those of you who have tried this have enjoyed this method of sewing. Okay, so now we have this section sewn together. So I think we're going to need to add this top piece right here. So this is going to be added onto that. It's a little bit long, but that's okay. We'll just sew it on. And then we'll trim afterwards. I've said it before, and it's so true. It's better to have things bigger and have to cut them down than smaller and wish they were bigger, because there's nothing we can do after that. Okay, so we have this together like this. So we're starting to look a little bit more like an S. Okay, I'm going to add these two pieces together. Okay. Just doing a little trimming here. See what we come up with. Okay, so we have a piece like this now. And see, every time I add something, it's getting to look more and more like an S, isn't it? So next up, I am going to round these two corners. because that's something easy and I know how to do it, because the next part, I gotta think a second to see how we're gonna round those corners and get the top and bottom pieces of the S together so they look good. Whoops, I didn't pivot that time, did I? It happens. Okay. Trim, iron, trim again. That kind of seems to be the theme, is sew, trim, iron, and trim. Okay. Oh, I think this is really looking much better. See? So I'm going to add this piece here to the bottom. This red piece that's in the center is going to get added to the bottom. And hopefully our S will be looking better and better. Okay, so here's what we have. How do I feel about this? Medium, because we're going to round this side, and then I'm going to show you something that I did wrong. And then we're going to decide what we want to do about it, because that's kind of how this works with when you're doing freeform piecing like this. You can make decisions however you want to make them. If you want most of your S to be curvy and one part to not be curvy, that's fine. You can do whatever you want, because it is your quilt. And I can see I made another mistake right there. Okay, so here's what I did. You can see that we should have had a piece right here and in there so that we could curve that S off. So what I'm going to do is I have a seam ripper here, and I'm going to quickly rip out that seam and do a couple correcting. I kind of knew this might get tricky as we got to this point, and anticipated that this might actually happen, just because, as I said, an S is probably one of the hardest letters that you're going to do of all of the letters here. In other videos, I've told you that I started out with the A because I wanted to do the letters sequential. But in reality, I would, if I was just learning to do this and doing it for the first time, I would very much consider going through and just finding some of the easiest letters. And those letters would be I, T, H. Those would be the easiest ones to do. So I'm showing you what I did there. So I need, it's a confusing mess here. So we're going to put the corner on here, and that has to be a red corner. And we're just going to kind of leave it kind of awkwardly the way it is. What a mess. It happens though, and some people, when they're filming a video, they might edit this out and they might redo the letter and not even have this letter included in what they're doing in the video. But I don't like to do that. I actually like for you to see me make mistakes so that you know that making mistakes, you can still overcome it. Okay, so we got that piece right here in the corner of the bottom. So then now this isn't attached, so we're going to go back and reattach that. And then I think we'll have one of our problems solved. Sometimes I think if people make everything look too perfect, and then people who go and try it get down on themselves because what they did in return isn't perfect. Okay, so you can see that this is going to come together the right way, being I added that triangle. But now you can see we're going to have an issue over here. So I need to round this before I sew it on. So I'm going to put that piece on there. and round that corner. Yep, just like that. I'm just had to look at it to double check it. I feel better about that. Izzy, no. I have a couple picnic baskets over there stacked up with stuff on them, and my new dog Izzy thinks it's a chew toy. Izzy, no. Okay, so I'm gonna show you kind of where we're at. So earlier I added that corner. Now I added this corner, and I'm feeling a little better about how that all is. Now I'm going to reconnect this seam right here that I did. And then we'll look at the two pieces together and see if we feel comfortable with where that all is at. Okay. This happens to be the week of conferences at school, so a lot of my kids' schedule and my childcare kids' schedule is all a little wonky. We have, for this week, we have early outs for Tuesday and Thursday, and then we have no school on Friday. So it's kind of a topsy-turvy week on top of all the topsy-turvy things that have been happening in the family too. So I think we can safely just add this bottom piece to the top piece, and I think we'll have a good S. I'm super happy with how it turned out. It's kind of stinks that I didn't get it on the first try, and that we had to go back and rip a few things out, but it's totally okay. Because in the end, it all worked out great. Okay. I'm gonna iron that, and then I'll give you a look and you can see what our S looks like. We'll have to add the top and bottom and the side border like we always do, but there. Doesn't that look good? Oh, I'm so happy with that. So that's something to be excited about. So we have our S. I'm gonna get rid of these scraps here. I'm gonna find a top and a bottom piece to add on. This looks like this would be a great bottom piece. And we'll run this through and we'll find another top piece. Okay, what do we got here? Nope, that won't work. Oh, this should work. Run that through on the top. I typically make these quilts with recycled men's shirts, but of course you can make them with any fabric that you have. I've been very tempted to get a bunch of vintage sheets and make it with make a quilt with vintage sheets. Wouldn't that be so fun? In fact, if I get another granddaughter at some point, I think I might just have to do a vintage sheets one. I did make one like this for my granddaughter Georgia, and for that one I used more pastel shirts. I used more of the pinks and yellows and oranges, and that turned out really nice. And instead of red, I used purple. And you can find pictures of that on my blog if you want to see it. That would be, my blog is joescountryjunction.com. Okay, I'm going to iron that over, and we're soon to have our S. Yay! Doesn't that look good? I'm so excited. I think that's one of the best S's I've ever made when in all of the times that I'm doing this. I wonder if we can see the S. No, it's way over there. That one wasn't too bad either. I made an S on that quilting. It's not too bad. Okay, let's see what we have up next. I did cut a few things in anticipation that we would be sewing together. Let me think. I think I have stuff for the letter T here. Oops, not that piece. I think that goes like that. Okay, so a T is super easy. You just need 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles. And these rectangles need to be all about the same size, and then you need a rectangle at the top. Then we'll add a top and bottom border, and then we'll add the border on the side. So this one should go super quick. That S, we're already 26 minutes into the video, and that's how long that S took. It was a bugger, wasn't it? Okay. I'm just going to immediately add this other piece on the side, and I'll iron once I get both of those on. Okay, here we're ready to iron. We're just going to iron those 2 pieces out. I'm going to trim this so that they're a little bit more even. Izzy's wondering what I'm doing because she hasn't seen me do this before. So this is how far we are right now. And Izzy is my dog that I was fostering that I ended up keeping because I like her so much. She has not been allowed up in the sewing room because, well, she's mostly house trained, but she's not completely house trained. Hey, Izzy, no. Speaks because I have a basket over there that she's wondering if she should take a couple bites out of. Izzy, no. And so I don't want her to take a couple bites out of my basket, so she's a little bit hard to watch when we're upstairs and I'm kind of distracted. So I am going to add a side piece, and then I'll add a top and bottom. I like to change that up a little bit. Sometimes, most of the time I add the top and bottom piece and then the side piece, but I like to change that up a little bit so that there's not seams all over in one of the spots. Because as we join the letters together, if all of them just have a top on them, pretty soon it's just going to look really piecey like this. So I like to change it up and sometimes add the pieces a little bit differently. Okay. So we have a top on. I'm going to see if I can find something here to add a bottom. Gradually, we're getting these letters all done. I'm so happy. Okay, I'll iron this and then we'll have our T done. See, there's our T. So now we have an S and a T, and you can see that they're pretty close to the same height. And if they're not, that's totally okay too. But I like them to be wonky, so I do like some to be bigger and some to be smaller. So we have S and T done. And can you believe that the S took us 26 minutes and the T took 4 minutes? Isn't that crazy? But that's kind of the nature of how this works, that some letters just take a longer time than others. Okay, and next up we have a U. And so I went in advance and I cut a few pieces so that constructing some of these wouldn't take quite so long. Okay, so here's our basis of a U. So you can see that we're gonna have to come in here, we're gonna have to round these two corners, and then after we get that done and everything attached together, we'll go down and round these two corners. So we'll start out with just rounding these two bottom corners. To do this, I have a rectangle, and then I have another rectangle on the bottom, and then two rectangles that are the same size on each side. So first we're going to round these corners with some red pieces. And I'm just going to do the thing that I lay it on there like this, and then I'm going to sew from here to here. This should be another quick letter, which is awesome because it's nice to have some quick letters in between some of those harder letters like that S. And if you remember last time we did an R, that was another letter that was a little bit hard. Okay, I got some trimming done. We're gonna iron that. Then I'll trim again, show you where we're at. Okay, I gotta say this little scissors is pretty nice. So, okay, we have this rounded now, so then we're gonna add this piece to this, which should be a quick sew. We've got some harder letters after we get this U done. Then we're going to be jumping into the V, which that's not terrible, but the W and the X and the Y and the Z, those are some of the harder letters altogether of the alphabet. So we'll see how far we get today. Right now, we have this all sewn together and we're ready to attach these two sides. This U is going to be quite a bit shorter than the other letters. So if you wanted to go through and make it taller, what you could, and you did this, you could just add another white piece up here if you wanted your U to be taller. I'm going to leave my U be little. But I just wanted to point that out to you in case you're making these and you sew along and you think, oh darn, I wish I would have I wish I would have made that centerpiece bigger. You can always just add a little bit of white. Okay, and I'm going to add the other side here. Okay, we'll iron and then we can add some border pieces to all of this. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I forgot that we have to round the bottom. So this is what I have for a U. So we're going to round each of these sides here with a white piece. So here we go. And I didn't pivot that time. I usually do, but I forgot again. Somebody asked why I do this. I don't like to deal with dangling threads, and so I just always end up, if I use that little piece to go under the machine, then I don't have to pull my threads and my threads get released from the needle and then end up with all sorts of troubles like that. Okay. I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. I think we're gonna add this spacer to the side. as I told you earlier in earlier videos, I'm always adding a spacer to the right side of every letter. Or left side, however you're looking at it. So I have that on, and now I'm going to add a top and bottom. This piece is big enough, so we'll add this. I kind of look at that piece that I keep putting under my foot as a placeholder. It kind of holds my needle in place where it needs to be. Okay, I need a wider piece for this because you can see that my U is pretty small compared to my S. So I need a big spacer. I need a big piece on the bottom, like a pretty wide piece, maybe even a 3 or 4 inch wide piece. And I like to make my letters, as I said, kind of silly and eclectic looking. And this is one way I do that. In the end, I'll come back and show you after we get all of the alphabet letters done. I will show you how I size up all of the letters and bring them to the same size so that we can sew them together. Yeah, there. Okay, I'll iron that one. And then we're going to have a U done. Okay, see, by adding that big amount on the bottom, now you can see that it's closer to the same size, and the letters are kind of going to be eclectic like that and be that way. So we have the S, the T, and the U done. So I think we've got enough time. We're at 37 minutes, so we can tackle the V. I have some stuff cut out for, I started cutting stuff out for the V. So first off, I cut a piece like this, and then I cut two sides, well, I'll just show you. I cut a rectangle, and then I made 2 cuts in the rectangle. I made 1 cut this way, 1 cut this way. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pull them out like this. And then we're going to add in the pieces for the V. And it looks kind of awkward, but we'll find a way to get it all to come together. So that's what we're going to do. I've told you before, when we do stuff on the angle, to make sure that the pieces, the red piece for the letters that are making the angle, that they are extra long. And then when you start sewing, to sew them onto the piece like this in the middle, so that you have tail here and you have tail here. That is the trick to doing the letters that are on the diagonal. Okay. Trim that. This is one that you definitely need to iron before you add the next pieces. So we have that together, and now we're going to put this other side of the V on. I gotta make sure again that I straddle down and make sure that the piece is in the middle. That extra long piece is in the middle of where I need it to be. Okay, I'm gonna iron that and we'll see where we're at. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to take a scissors here and I'm going to trim this back piece off. I'll put that there, and then I'm gonna lob this bottom piece off. And so now we're looking more like we have a V. I think I need it to be a little more squarely. I'm trying to decide if I could use these. I think I can. I'm going to add this piece here. I didn't know if I needed to add a taller piece. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something kind of wonky. I'm going to add this to the end of this piece, and we're just going to, so that we keep the angle, but we extend the piece and make it a little taller. I'm going to do that to this one as well. See if I can find something here. I want a different color. I just want my sides to extend a little taller. And in order to do that, I just added this. I'll show you. You can see I added onto that angle, and now it's going to be just a little bit taller. I'll get the other one done and show you how that one's going to work as well. Oops. Been trying to find some time to work on some of my UFOs, but I haven't even had time to do some of that kind of stuff. So it's just been a busy life around here, and I'm hoping, I don't know, fingers crossed that this weekend is kind of a slower weekend around here. So you can see I added a piece onto this, and I added a piece onto that, and that gave some height, so my V is going to be a little bit taller, and I'm excited to have a little bit taller V, because I think that's going to look better on my piece. And when you're just making something that's super eclectic and fun, like this quilt is, you can do things like adding miscellaneous pieces onto the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna add this one to this side. Getting close to done with our V. That's awesome. It seems like every letter has something for us to contend with. Either we're trying to figure out how to do angles, or we're trying to figure out which corners to round. No matter what we do, every letter seems to have its own little challenge. So here we are with the V. I kind of like how that looks on the bottom when I added those extenders onto it. So we're going to add a top and a bottom and a side, and then we can check V off our list as one of our finished letters. Here we have the top on. It's looking better all of the time. So there's the top. Okay, see if we can find a piece for the bottom. That's not long enough. No, this looks long enough. I think this is for me lately anyway, this is a slow and steady wins the race project. Normally it wouldn't take me this long to get it done. And hopefully once we get to the center portion, that'll go a little bit faster. Okay, so now we have the top and bottom on. We just need the side piece on. See if I can find one here. Yep, this is a nice long one. I got some strings on it though. This whole project goes much smoother when you have a garbage can close and when you have an iron close. I can't imagine trying to do this project if I was using my regular ironing station, which is over here, and I had to jump up each time I was working on a letter. I really enjoy having this little ironing board or ironing mat. This is a Nido, N-I-D-O, or I don't know if it's Nido or Nido mat. And this is the 17.5 by 17.5 size, I believe. And I have a little white Travel Mate iron that a blog reader gave me. And I use it here all of the time and just really, really love it. I can put a link for the scissors and a link for the mat down in the description box below, because those are two things that have really made this a lot easier. So there is my V. And so we have STUV. Our next letters would be W, X, Y, and Z. And I'm thinking about squeezing in a W here yet with you, because I really would love to get to the end of the alphabet. And in order to do that, we need to keep plugging along to make letters. And I know X, Y, and Z are going to take a little bit of doing. So maybe we can squeeze in a V or a W here. So I'm looking what I have for fabric. See what I have that we could use here. And I got to think how I'm going to make a W. So I'm cutting and thinking about how a W would look. This is going to be one of the harder letters too, because you really have to think out how it would go. So I will show you what I have so far. Okay, so this is what I cut. It's basically 3 triangles and then two more triangles, but these triangles have a right angle in them and these do not. These 3 do not. So now I got to cut some red strips that'll go in here. And remember, if we're doing things on the diagonal, we want them a lot longer than we think we would normally want them, because some of the diagonal gets kind of lost when we sew the pieces together. Okay, so if you remember, I've been trying to use a wider strip at the beginning of the letter. So I use narrower strips there, and then this one is going to be a little bit wider strip. And so it looks super, super awkward right now, but this is what the W looks like. So as always, we're going to start from working in the middle and then we'll work out. So we're going to start out by adding these 2 pieces together. I can just do a little bit of manipulation here, and I want to show you how there's a lot of tail here and there's a lot of tail up here, and we need to keep those tails on there when we sew this together. Okay. Oh, this is kind of stuck under the machine here, oddly. We can always trim those pieces down later if they're too long, and they will be too long. But I'm going to wait. And this is one that has to be ironed after every time we add something to it. Okay, now I got to remember where it goes in the thing. Okay, so we have these two pieces sewn together. We're going to add this piece right here. And again, we're going to leave those tails much longer. I'm going to trim off the underside of the first part of the W we sewed on, just to decrease a little bit of the bulk. Okay, I want to get this laid in there the right way. Okay, so we have this section done right here in the center. So now we're going to add this to this, and we're just going to kind of do a little bit of aiming and guessing to see where we think that that should go. I'm trying to think of this corner down here, and so this would be in an angle with that corner. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to sew that down. Ouch, I almost cut myself with the scissors. Oh my word. Maybe the scissor needs a warning label that says not for skin. Oh my word. So I think I'm just going to keep working and work out in this direction. And so I have this added. Now I'm going to add this big piece. And again, I'm going to leave those extra long tails. And so leave it like this. So you can see there's a long tail up here and a long extra tail down there. And I'm going to put that through the machine. All of this will be trimmed up later. The extra length will be trimmed off and will be all okay. Kind of like the extra fabric from the V was trimmed off. Okay, I can trim this underside. That's going to go in my garbage. Okay, we're getting a little closer to a W. So now this section is all together. So we're going to add this small piece here to the side. And again, I think I'm going to do what I did before and add a little piece of fabric to the bottom of that, like I did on the, oh, what letter was that? The V. Yep, this piece will be big enough. And as long as I'm adding it to that side, I'm going to add it to the opposite side of the W as well. Okay, working on that. Oops. And we'll just trim so that our angle stays even. I'm going to iron the other side. And we'll trim so that angle stays even. So now I have two pieces that look like this, and we'll add those to the sides of the W. That works so well with the V, so I think this will just work great with the W as well. Okay. There's quite a few steps to getting a W done. And I think now you can see how I said that W is a bit of a harder letter just because you have to keep all the angles correct. Okay, this is what we have together so far. I'll lay it down with what else we have done, And then you can see how it's kind of working together. It looks pretty rough right now yet, but it'll all straighten out. So here's where we're at. We're gonna add this piece now to this because this is all together. And we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna flip it over, trying to keep it fairly even with the other pieces. Okay. I'm getting excited for when we can get this trimmed. And I can see if it actually all worked, because that's kind of how these letters go. I just keep trying one more thing and trying one more thing until we get to the end and we check if it works. So now we have this section together and we'll add this red piece. And again, I'm going to leave the extra long tails. You can see there's tail up here and tail down there. Run that through the machine. The W is getting pretty, is a wide letter. And that's totally okay, because you'll notice here on the border, I add some filler pieces anyway. So it's okay if a W ends up being extra wide, because we need filler space anyway. Okay, I'm gonna trim that underneath off. I'm gonna iron. When I originally started doing this, I had little envisions of me running upstairs and getting time to sew and sewing a lot of extra blocks. So then I could do a couple tutorials and magically my quilt top would all be together, but that's not happening at all. I know there's a lot of you that started sewing your letter A and you're already through with your alphabet because you got some confidence from watching the first videos and you just sped right along. So this section is together. We need to add this section. I think if you consider yourself more of a visual person, that this sewing technique isn't as hard for you. And if you're not a real visual person, I think it's a little bit harder. But I think all of us who are quilters have some sort of visual talent. Okay. Run that through. People of the world, we are getting closer to the end of this W. Okay. So this is what I have. So I'm going to take the scissors and kind of roughly square this up. When I filmed one of my videos, I had told you that I got downstairs after filming the video and my daughter was at my house and she was upset and worried because she had tried to call me and then her sister tried to call me and I hadn't answered the phone and everybody was sure I had, tumbled down the stairs or gotten abducted or something. And they were all upset and worried about me because I didn't answer my phone because I was filming the video. Well, this time I was a good mom and I let them all know I was filming. So here's where we're at with the W. All of the pieces are trimmed off so we can add our top and bottom pieces now. So what do I have that's long? Is that long enough? Yep, that does appear to be long enough. Okay, I just did a little trimming of that. I'm going to add this to the bottom. Not too long ago, my thrift shop that I go to, that I still get shirts at occasionally, they had switched out and had moved from having summer to fall. And I was walking by the men's shirts and I had to just tell myself, no, don't buy any more shirts. You have enough. So I have a bottom on and now I'll find a top piece. I sometimes get a little too excited about having too many shirts, and then I remind myself how much I don't love cutting up shirts. I don't know if anybody who sews quilts with shirts that loves cutting up shirts, but I do have a video. If you're not familiar with cutting up shirts, or you want a refresher, or you want to just know how I cut up shirts, I have a video that shows how I do it, and that video has been a very popular video. If you watch it, I can show you how to cut up a shirt in just over 5 minutes. So that's kind of fun. And I'm actually not going to add a spacer to this one, I don't think. I may end up adding one later, but you can see it already has a little bit of a spacer on that side. So there's the W. And that's probably what we're going to close this video out with. So we have the S, oops, the S, the T, the U, the V, and lastly the W. So this is what we accomplished today. I'm so excited that we were able to get that many letters done, because that means we only have 3 more letters of the alphabet to do. Hurrah! That's just so awesome. We're finally going to be getting to the end of the alphabet. It'll be X, Y, and Z, and those are 3 harder letters again. I think after we've tackled the S and the W, I think tackling the X and the Y and the Z isn't going to be quite so hard, because we've got some plans and some ideas already in our mind, and knowing how we can manipulate the fabric to make the letters that we want to make. I'm so glad that you've been here today to join me in my sewing room as we tackle this section of the alphabet. And I look forward to seeing you next time when we do finish the end of the alphabet, and we can all kind of do a little happy dance. Yahoo! And then the video after that will be, I'll start showing you how I do some of the freeform blocks. I hope you've been enjoying sewing along with me. I've had a great time hanging out with you today. Thanks so much. Bye.